Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Awesome. Yeah. Yay. Well, there we go. So, happy Mother's Day to the mothers. Yep. Thank you very much. And our hearts go out to the guys. Your day's coming soon.
Yay, homework.
Happy Mother's Day to all the nurturing beings.
There we go. You said it very well. All right, so let's stand up this morning. Welcome. So glad to see you. Some of you may remember this song. It's been a while since we did it. Easy to catch on. So enjoy.
Welcome here on your spiritual journey. We welcome all faiths, and we all are walking our own separate paths. And we use unity as one of those paths. I'm going to ask where her partner go.
Good morning, I'm Barb Allen, I'm your prayer partner today. I light this Christ candle to remind us of the Christ light shining in each and every one of us. Now to join me in an opening prayer. Divine Spirit, one who is ever present. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to come together, to be with our friends and loved ones in your house. Open our minds so we can hear from Marilyn's message, that specifically which we need to hear. With our loved ones who can't be here. Take care of our sick. Lead us and guide us. In gratitude for prayers answered before they are asked, and for all blessings given. In gratitude, together we say, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
I seem to have some trouble getting the mic going, so I'll read loud.
Might have to better.
Well, I'll just try and read louder. So the daily word for today is motherly love. Let us affirm, I give thanks for motherly love. Let these words be your words. God's perfect love, expressing through my mother, gave me life. God's love, wisdom, and strength guided her and all those who nurtured me as I grew. My words of praise and gratitude let me show my mother how much I appreciate her. When I wish to demonstrate my appreciation for my mother's example, I share the nurturing, motherly love of God in my words and actions with all people. Remembering the times when my mother or another compassionate person listened patiently and shared encouraging words, I seek to be a caring, supportive presence. Recalling my mother's joy each time I learn something new, I share my skills and knowledge willingly when someone seeks my help. In gratitude, I share the gift of nurturing love. In Isaiah 66:13, we read, as a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. Remember, our word for today is motherly love. Thank you.
Staying in a prayer consciousness.
If you've not closed your eyes and it's comfortable for you to do so, just allow your eyes to close easily now. Allow yourself to breathe in, opening to the divine love that is God. And as you breathe out, release any worries or fear. Breathe in once more, together. And as we breathe in together and relax together, we become one, become more aware of the energy of one. Breathe in once more. Again, acknowledging the divine love that is within each of us and all around us. Noticing that as we bring our attention to it, it seems to expand and grow. We each, in our own way, affirm that divine love lives in me. I am good and worthy and deserving of divine love. Our mothers showed us nurturing love. And that nurturing love in our mothers came also from the divine. And so as we continue going deeper into meditation, feeling ourselves being supported, we open to the spiritual power that is love. We acknowledge it in us. And as we acknowledge it, we recognize it alive in our heart. We feel and express that love in our lives. Knowing divine love that is always here. We take a few moments now in the quiet, in the silence, allowing ourselves to feel that love throughout every cell of our body, in our hearts and our minds. And so we become quiet and listen. Listen to what God and love has to speak to us this morning in the silence. Grateful for this time of rest in God. We begin to become aware once more of the divine love in each of us and in the room. We even extend our awareness out into the community. Knowing that this divine presence, this love, is here for each of us. And so we come in prayer to those who are requesting prayer. We ask for prayer for Reverend Libby, her son Patrick Osborne. Please see him quickly healed and fully recovered from an urgent surgery. And we see her experiencing the joy of caring for her grandchildren during the process. We see God's light and love within each and every one of us. We ask for prayer for Michael Wilding, for guidance and healing and peace. She was diagnosed with Bell palsy. And so we pray for her and her husband who is having surgery. We pray for Tracy and her family, for her family emergency right now. And we pray for Sandy, who is not feeling well this morning. We see each and every one of these in our community, feeling, knowing that they are surrounded by God's love and light, and feeling peace If there's anyone on your heart right now, we ask you to place their name in this holy circle, knowing that whether or not they are physically present in the room, we are all supported by light and love and God. And put your own name into this circle, knowing that your love not only sustains you, but sustains all of those around you. And so we give thanks. We give thanks for knowing and understanding and being open to receive and give. So we take a deep breath in and become more aware of the room around us, the chair supporting us, and our feet on the floor. And take one more breath in together and let it go and open your eyes as we say, thank you, God. Amen. So good morning, everybody. I don't think I had a chance to say that. And happy Mother's Day to all of you. I'm not sure if I ever gave a talk on Mother's Day before. I stopped to think about it. In my old church, I always used to get Father's Day, and the minister that was a male always used to get Mother's Day for whatever reason. It always seemed to work out that way. But so when I started thinking about Mother's Day, I thought, you know, I can't think of anything to say about Mother's Day that maybe hasn't already been said. And the interesting thing is, honestly, for me, I never got all that excited, I guess, about Mother's Day. I mean, when I grew up, what it was it was a celebration in church, you know, from the Bible of honor thy mother and father. And we used to get, everybody used to get a carnation. And there were pink carnations for people whose mothers were alive and white carnations for those who weren't. And my mother's mother wasn't alive, and most of my friends' mothers were. And I always felt bad for her that she had to wear a white carnation and stand out above, you know. But somehow or other, that practice seems to have disappeared. There was also another day that we always had Mother's Day and Father's Day, but we also had Children's Day. And that was when the children would participate and the children would be honored. And I was talking to my sister this week and I said, whatever happened to it? And she said, it snuck away. So we don't hear anything about that. That was Hallmark too. Somebody mentioned Hallmark this morning. But it's also a time of high emotions, which we've kind of been experiencing. And I was thinking about it this week, and it's like, you know, there's all kinds of emotions around Mother's Day. There's emotions of the mother we got, the mother we didn't get, whether we grew up with our mother or didn't grow up with our mother, and whether we were with the mother we were born with, but she wasn't very nurturing. I just heard recently this week about somebody and it's a female, who didn't get the mothering gene. And some fathers have the nurturing gene. So as I was thinking about this, it's like, well, Mother's Day is really about love. That's the basis of it. And we normally consider mother's love as being the nurturing one. And I think father's as being the powerful one, the protector one. So Charles Fillmore, one of the founders of Unity, said that love is the power that binds together the whole human family. Even further, he said, in divine mind, love is the power that binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. It is the great harmonizing principle known to man. So that's divine love. So how do we get in touch with that? How do we become aware of it? How do we live divine love? Which is really what ultimately the first person that shared that with us is usually our mother. But what would life be like without love? Did you ever think about that? What it might be like without it? Because even if we haven't gotten it from our mothers, we've gotten it somewhere. Because I know I considered my sister my second mother, and she was as nurturing, if not more nurturing than my mother was. So most of us have had some kind of experience in our lives, whether it's a teacher, a brother, a stepmother, or whoever who has helped to nurture us. So what would life be like without that love? Well, as humans, I don't think that's a possibility, because we are love. That is our nature. We can't separate ourselves from love any more than we can separate a sunbeam from the sun or a wave from what's in the ocean. It's part of our nature. It's part of who we are. And another name for God is love. So it's impossible for us to be separate from it. But sometimes we can't separate ourselves, but we can turn our back on it. But it's not ever going to turn its back on us. When we turn back, it will be there. So we think of unconditional love as affection without limitations, love without conditions, a type of love that knows absolutely no bounds. Mother's love is said to be the best example of this love. And as I already said, mother's love, that nurturing love, can come from anywhere. I know some fathers that are much more nurturing than mothers or women are. So we're talking about that nurturing love this morning. So most often we think about love as receiving it from another person. maybe a romantic partner, maybe our parents, whoever you can think of that was your nurturing person. But we feel that not just from one person. We feel that love coming from friends, coming from our church family, coming from other families. We feel that love coming from everywhere. But that love is a secondary source. That main source of love is from God, and it comes from within. God is love, and we are expressions of that love. And we've heard the stories, and I don't have the data anymore of what it is, of how they've done experiments with children that weren't being held and didn't grow because they weren't getting love. But when they gave them a stuffed animal to love, they started beaming, they started developing, because it's not, the love comes from within. And when we share it, we receive it. It's part of the flow. So it comes from our inner self, and it has an inexhaustible supply. We can love our friends and our family and our romantic partners. We can love nature. We can love animals. The list goes on and on, how we can let our love come out. So it's a gift that we activate within ourselves. When we give love, we actually receive it. So if we want more love in our lives, what we do is we give more. I thought of the song, and I didn't think to send it in time, about the song that we have in Unity, that love is a magic penny. The more you hold, you don't have any. The more you give it, the more you receive it. So another thing about love is it looks past appearances so that we can see the truth in people. So we look past, and that's one of the things that we associate with mother love, that we look past the experiences and we say, and I said this to my children, maybe we can say, I don't like what you're doing right now, but I still love you. There's nothing that you can do that will ever take that love away. So that we look past appearances. So that's not just in personal one-on-one, but that's in how we interact with the world. We can look past what might be a negative appearance and see the truth. Love within us is what heals, it prospers, it attracts, it holds, and makes real the good. And divine love is the greatest power for protection in the universe. Think about that. If we have divine love, it's the greatest power of protection. One of the many definitions of love is this, that God, love, is the sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. The center of love is everywhere. So the center of love is within each and every one of you. And the circumference just envelops all. That's not a picture that we can draw. But what it should do is draw our minds away from the idea or the thought of God as having a human form or attributes. This is one of the things that's difficult sometimes for us to see, that God is not, we were made in God's image, and we in our minds return the favor and make him in our image. That's not the image of God. So could this be the meaning of omnipresence? I knew my tongue was going to get caught on that. Could this be the meaning of omnipresence? That God is everywhere? Because God is wherever we are. We say this all the time, but do we ever stop and think about it deeply, that this is the truth? But we are each a point of light, and wherever I am, God is. So now we come to another thing that can be a little difficult for us sometimes. Accepting the divine in me, that wherever I am, God is. But this brings us to the idea of self-love. I know when I was growing up, thinking of self-love was thought of as being vain and not something that you were supposed to do. But loving God is often easier than loving myself. Some of the reasons are for those beliefs that we were taught when we were growing up. Can I love myself when I have made mistakes or experienced financial setbacks, especially when I judge myself for having been able to see it ahead of time? When I haven't anticipated health issues, can I love myself, especially if feel like I'm not taking care of myself? Regret, judgment, condemnation can feel overwhelming. How can I use the power of love then? How can I activate love to allow me to love myself as much as I love God? Well, how I can do that is to affirm the power of God within me over and over again. So I have a story I'm going to share with you this morning that illustrates the idea of this love and all these things that I've talked about. It is a story of healing, but as we listen and go through it, we can know that we can use these same principles, and it does include all of the unity principles, to whatever it is we're trying to heal, whether it's our finances, whether it's our relationships, whether it's something at our workplace or whatever. And it is a true story. And it starts out with, it's a true story. And I want to say here that I believe that we are all here to contribute love to the planet. Each and every one of us, in whatever way it is ours to do. We're not all going to be on the world stage, but each and every one of us giving that love in the planet is what keeps the planet going. So this is a story, Dr. Bernie Siegel, I don't know if any of you know the name, but he's a writer and retired pediatric and general surgeon who writes and teaches about mind-body medicine and the relationship between the patient and the healing process, the relationship between us and whatever needs to be healed. He's best known for his book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles. And he tells a story of a young woman named Evie McDonald, who had a severe case of ALS. Her neurologist told her that she had 6 to 12 months to live. In a letter to Dr. Siegel, she wrote, "Death seemed inevitable, and a part of me was truly looking forward to ending this life. Yet I had unfinished business, a strong compulsion to discover what unconditional love was about before I died." In a separately written article, she describes her experience after she made the commitment to discover unconditional love. Remember, she was looking for this in herself, not out there somewhere. She began by sitting in front of her mirror. And this is how she goes on. "I looked with disgust at my deteriorating body. I sat in a wheelchair with acutely atrophying muscles. My arms and legs were shrinking." So how many times do we experience that? I mean, I can share with you through my life. When I was 14 years old, I went through a whole summer wearing long sleeves because I thought I had the world's ugliest elbows. It was a hot summer. And I had people telling me my elbows were just fine, but I would not hear it. And that's another part of love. We have to be able to hear it and let it in. Also, as we age, our bodies change. This woman had a disease, but don't all of us look at ourselves in the mirror and find what we don't like and criticize? Every one of us has had this experience in some way. So this woman went on and said, "As I sat in my wheelchair 6 months from death, a single passionate desire pressed to the front of my mind. In the last months of my life, I wanted to experience unconditional love." So here she has an intention, a strong intention. But how could I even hope to realize that goal if I couldn't accept my own body? Here's the idea of how can we love someone else if we can't love ourselves? That again was backwards for me when I grew up. I was supposed to love them first and then I could love. So her first step was to notice and write down how many negative thoughts she had about her body in the course of each day, and how many positive ones. When she saw the preponderance of negative thoughts on the paper, she was forced to confront the degree of hatred she had for her body. So obviously, one side was much longer than the other side. We can do this with thoughts about anything. We can see the negative first. There's lots going on in the world today that we can look at and see in a negative way. Hatred for the other, whoever, whatever the other is. We can see all that in a negative way. I don't know what your list would be if you sat down to try it, but I'm sure that mine would also be more on the negative, even though I'm a Unity student for how many years, and less on the positive. So in order to change this idea and this ingrained idea, every single day she singled out one aspect of her physical body that was acceptable to her, no matter how small. So one thing to find, and I actually use that sometimes when I'm not feeling good, I will scan my body and look for what does feel good and focus on that. So the next thing she did was she used that item to begin rewriting affirmations. Every negative thought would be followed by a positive statement. Each day, a different positive item would be added. So each day she would add another positive statement. So now we have one list and we're starting to focus on the other list. She says she couldn't pinpoint just when the shift occurred, but one day she noticed that she had no more negative thoughts about her body. This to me is a miracle. Even though it didn't just happen, she was doing the work. She was totally at peace with a complete, unalterable acceptance of the way her body was. And she said, a bowl of Jell-O in a wheelchair. So she developed unconditional love for her body as it was. If we're trying to do unconditional love in the world, and this is some of the things we see with mothers and fathers of not accepting their children for who they are, not letting them be and help them to develop to be the best that they are, even if it's not who we hoped they would be. So she accepted her body. It didn't need to be any different. It could be whatever I was and whatever I was to be. She discovered her illness was a challenge and a gift. And she was stimulated to examine her deepest thoughts, desires, and beliefs. That's what I'm kind of talking about this morning, giving each of us a chance to look at maybe what our deepest desires and beliefs are. Maybe when we give ourselves permission to do that, we'll find some things that we don't like, but if we can accept them is when we can move through them. This journey of self-discovery restructured her life and led her into a powerful experience of the mind-body connection. So she also accepted her feelings and thoughts about her body. And when she accepted these feelings and thoughts about her body, she didn't know what to do with them. So she gave them to God. Now, however you want to give your ideas to God, it's up to you. One of the ways that some of us do here in Unity is use a God box. Write them all out and put them in the God box. God's got it. So we don't have to worry about it anymore. But some of you may have other ways. She also daily forgave everyone and anyone she needed to forgive. That's another big part of this. So she goes on to say, she goes on in her letter to Dr. Siegel that her physical body stopped deteriorating and began reversing the havoc that wrecked her body by the ALS. Physical healing did not occur because she set out to cure herself. And that's another one of the hard lessons that we need to learn, because healing doesn't always mean a cure. And she wasn't setting out for a cure. She was setting out for healing because she wanted to experience divine love. But because she thought her job on earth was to discover unconditional love was not complete. That's why she had the healing, because she wanted to discover this in her lifetime. She said, since then, I joyously awaken each day, filled with enthusiasm, and continue to play my role in the transformation of medical practice. When this was written, I got curious because I had this letter, but I went on the internet because I thought, ALS, she probably wasn't cured. That's like, I don't know that we have a cure for ALS. But what I found was that as of 2015, she had been totally recovered from ALS disease for 34 years.
Wow.
She was the first person to ever recover. So this is a true story. This isn't a made up, airy-fairy, ideas to put out there. This is true. And this can happen for each and every one of us. Her intention was not to change her body, but to change her mind. Replacing self-hatred with self-love was healing in itself. Just that much was healing. Although this was her primary intention, she received a bonus, a body that began to heal as well. Her intention was not to change her body, but to love her body as it was. This was the first and primary healing. If that were the only healing, it would have been significant in itself. But then her body began to reflect her state of mind just as it had during the illness. She also did service from love. She did her service from love, not because she thought she was supposed to, or it was the thing to do, or she wanted kudos. She was doing it from love, which is beneficial for the giver as well as the receiver. So we know in Unity that the Fillmores, the founders of Unity, also used these ideas. Both Myrtle and Charles. Myrtle, it was tuberculosis. Charles, it was his short leg. Used prayer and love to heal themselves. So this isn't a once phenomenon either. This is a powerful story of someone who actually did it, but it's not just those special people. We can each do this. And so we know that this is here for us. This motherly love, this special love, this divine love that is in each and every one of us. I don't know what you heard this morning that might connect with you or might encourage you to find what your deep beliefs are that are in your way. But I go back to the circle of love, the circle of divine love that we talked about this morning. And one of the things that I found as I was looking at things, there was a poem popped up for me. And in my younger days, it was just a book of poems of the American people or something like that. But they weren't really deep, but yet they could be deep. And I used to read these poems a lot when I was a young mother and working and young kids and all that stuff. And in fact, I used to sometimes, when I could get away on the weekends, I would drive out to a reservoir near me and sit on a wall and read the books. And one of my favorite poems from there came up. And it's funny because I didn't know anything about Unity or anything I'm talking about this morning, but it's just a little short poem. And I think it's from Edwin Markham. He drew a circle that shut me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. That's unconditional love. That's divine love. That's what the world is calling for right now, for each and every one of us. to be and express the best that we can be, the light, the sunbeam that we are, that we each are. And so as you go through your week, this week, think about maybe what you heard today and see what it is that's in you, that you can find an intention and find something. It doesn't have to be ALS. It could be, you know, something that just seems to keep coming up in your life. And what is it, to go deep, and what is it? And allow those feelings and emotions and ideas to come up in you. And as you feel them and allow them to be there, and accept them, you will grow. Thank you. Marilyn.
We're gonna let Mother's Day go without singing about Mother God, right?
Now it's time for our announcements. First of all, announcement about Gay's service, which will be next Sunday, May 16th at 12:30 right here at Unity. And Unity will be providing the food for the reception. Also, we will need a sound tech for the service, so contact Chris if you're able to help with either. And there was a beautiful obituary for Gay in today's Yakima Herald, so I'd like to read this. So, Gay Ellen Lindemuth Will. Gay Ellen Lindemuth Will, née Cammers of Yakima, Washington, died peacefully in her home on April 13th, 2021, after a 3-year-long battle with cancer. Gay loved playing music on her piano, reading, going to the beach, Gonzaga basketball, and skiing on the lake that she grew up on. Gay was born in Tonasket, Washington, and raised in Oroville, Washington. Gay held a few occupations: organizational development, for which she received her master's degree, teacher, and librarian. Gay is survived by her husband of 36 years, Rick Will, daughter Jessie Will, son Levi Will, and 2 brothers, Michael and Tim Cammers. We also can't forget her family at Unity Spiritual Life Center, where she attended church over 20 years. A memorial will be held at Unity Spiritual Life Center on May 16th, 2021 at 12:30 p.m. after Sunday service. So a beautiful obituary for a very special lady. Okay, Wednesday morning book study, we have changed our book. Wesley the Owl is a wonderful book, but it didn't really lend itself to discussion. So we are going to be reading Ram Dass's Be Here Now. It's a book that came out in the 70s. I read it then and it was transformational for me. And it really was one of the books that set me on a spiritual path and a spiritual seeking and helped me to go deeper. So if you can join us, please do so. And I really believe that this is going to be a book that's going to get lots of discussion going. We are having our yard sale on June 5th. We're taking donations at the church. The 2 rooms are full, so we'll put them in the classroom. You can bring them down Monday through Friday, 10:30 to 3:30. Watch for sign-up sheets. There's going to be sign-up sheets. We're going to need lots of helpers to get this off the ground. And we will be having our metaphysical and wellness event in July or August, so watch for details on that. Main guest speakers, as you heard, Reverend Libby had an emergency and she had to go back east, take care of grandkids. And so she won't be able to speak next week, so we don't have a speaker yet, but this will be announced. And then Sean Tate will be the following week. Opportunities to give. Security camera. We've had a security camera for the outside donated and it will cost $700 to wire it in. We already have 300, so mark your donations camera. Bab's bench. For a bench to be placed at the Labyrinth in Gilbert Park in honor of Babs Rankin. The cost is $750. We already have $350. Mark your donation, Babs bench. And severance package, the cost is $8,250. We have $1,870. Mark your donation, severance. And men's room, we've been talking about this for a while now, over a year, and I think the pandemic kind of put pay to that for a bit. The men's room downstairs needs to be updated. Cost is not known yet, but will be in the thousands. We have $1,400. Mark your donations, men's room. And masks, we've read this before, but in the spirit of compassion and tolerance, please remember that some people cannot wear a mask because of health issues, and we, by law, cannot ask them what their health issues are. We do not feel comfortable turning someone away who is here with a need for spiritual connection. And now if you'll join me with affirmations. Prosperity affirmation together. I live in a world of plenty and I have a consciousness of abundance. Our vision, a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of a shared spiritual awakening. And our mission, we empower individuals to collectively transform the world.
It's that time of the service when we get to celebrate the gifts God has given to us. Are there any people here that would like to share a celebration? Okay, I will. So join me, please. Divine love, flow through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. I need a pair of roller skates. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you for these people. Thank you for the gifts you give to us each and every day. Thank you for the gifts that are shared with us, that we might share them with our community. You are so good, and we are so grateful. Thank you, God. What's next? Okay. Thank you.
Bless all the children.
We love you, we bless you, and we appreciate you just the way you are.
If there are no children, there's always the spirit of the child within us. The peace sign and the prayer of protection is here. The peace sign is over there. The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us.
The power of God
protects us.
The
The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Okay, everybody on Zoom, this is Rick. I just wanted to thank you for your attendance and happy Mother's Day and many blessings.
There's a little chip inside the camera, and it may have some of the old movie stuff on it. Okay?
Thanks, Rick.
Give it a try. Good. Of course. Good.
Glorious I guess I was gonna raise it about history. I guess I can. God is love. It doesn't matter where you're at, just spread love out. Right.